Hey, 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 happy Halloween, happy Hallows Eve. Happy Samhain, if you're here, say hello. Hi, Leah. Hey, guys. It's a little. It is a little hard for me to talk. It's a little hard for me to talk with this on, so I'm going to take it off for the video, but I had to wear my unicorn hat. So I think it's really important to celebrate this powerful time. Happy Halloween, hey Mike, happy Hallows Eve, happy Samhain. You know, the veils are very thin right now. It's a perfect, hey Sam. It's a perfect time to be talking about this subject, and so up in the collective right now. I've been getting tons of messages from people about being in abusive relationships lately, and I'm really excited to share my own story, what I've learned, and how I broke the cycle. And I think it's important, you know, we're talking about these really dense, heavy topics. It's important to be light about it. It's important to be playful. Thank you, Sam. It's important to, really bring the playfulness, the lightness to elevating these karmic patterns, because if not, we can kind of stay stuck. And we do, I think, as a society and as a culture, we have this addiction really to pain, to suffering, to playing the victim, and to these kind of lower, I don't even like to use the word lower, denser, if you will. Hey, Hans. These denser emotional states, and it's almost like it's like this form of martyrdom, right? Can you relate? I know for me that was really big. It's like, oh, if I play small, or if I hang out in these victim mentalities and stories, there's some, I'm martyring some aspect of myself, and I will get, it's such delusional thinking, right? So it's really important that we, break these belief systems and old paradigms, that say that it takes 30 years to break these cycles, and lots of therapy and tons of work. I've certainly spent 20 years of doing lots of personal growth and work, but as a waist shower and as an innovator, on the new frontier of healing and evolutionary growth and consciousness, yes, I think that's an old paradigm. I really do. And what we're discovering is that you can have a quantum shift in breaking these cycles, in breaking these patterns, with these new tools and multi-dimensional perspectives, quantum perspectives, and tools that are working on all the dimensions. Trauma is at the root of all the patterns that I've talked about over the last 7 days in these videos in this series. Every form of dis-ease or discord is rooted in some form of trauma, right? And so on a soul level, it's our responsibility, whether it's inherited or from a past life or whatever your belief system is. It really doesn't even matter. The imprint is there, and it's up to us to evolve it, right? Can I get a hell yeah if you're with me? Because if you don't take responsibility for it, you continue to stay the victim of it. So it's not about blaming your ancestors. It's not about blaming others. It's not even about blaming yourself. And this is key, because this can keep you in that cycle of martyrdom and victimization. The key is to embrace it, accept it, that it's that it has been placed on your soul's path for your highest evolution and expression. And it's actually part of your soul's purpose. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my story and how that helped. Once I made that decision, I was able, once I was able to make that decision, I was able to leverage my entire experience, right, for a higher purpose. So it wasn't just about me. It was about freeing my lineage. It was about my daughter. It was about my work in the world, right? It's about sharing my story so that I can help other people break out of these really disempowering victim cycles. So with that, let's dive in. So today we're going to be talking about, this is the final day in the video series. So I'd love to hear, if you've been with me for the last 7 days, and if you caught my other videos, how you like this. This is something I just literally spontaneously got inspired to do in celebration of the season, because this is such a powerful time to do ancestral work. So if you're interested and you feel called, this is for men and women, if you feel called to break some of these patterns in your own family line and free yourself and your lineage, then join me tomorrow, right? At 1 p.m. Central, we're gonna do a 2-hour intensive, a ceremony and a creative process and clearing to release these patterns, bring them up into consciousness, right? On your family line, on any kind of generational wounds, any patterns. If you see repeating patterns, that means that there is a karmic pattern and cycle that needs to be broken. And you have the power and the potential to set yourself free and your whole family line and to break out of this. Hey, Christina. Hey, cuz. So super, super important. If you feel the call to join me, you can click on the link above to grab a spot with me to do a complimentary karmic assessment, or private message me if you want to join the intensive tomorrow. We can talk about that. It starts at 1 p.m. Central. It will be recorded. You'll also receive a month of a free, private, confidential Facebook group to help you process this clearing and to ask questions, to share your stories with others, to get support, not just from me, but from everyone doing this work. And also to help you integrate, because once you clear a karmic pattern, you have to rewire everything for a higher experience, right? Or you can fall back into the pattern. And it's very easy to do. So I'm going to be giving you tools and lots of support to help you anchor in this higher reality. And it is a quantum shift, right? It is literally breaking out of old matrices, old templates, genetic codes that are no longer serving you and humanity anymore. And you have the power to shift that, right? So let's talk about abuse. You know, everyone on this planet has dealt with abuse in some form, right? Abuse is a pattern of relating that is rooted in acting out of fear or acting out of the wound, out of trauma itself, right? It's a reaction. So, and it also comes psychologically from a pattern of not being able to sort of individuate in a particular relationship, whether it is a family, you know, like it's you know, it's rooted. I mean, there's so many theories about this. I'm not going to spend a ton of time of that, but rooted in, you know, attachment theory, how we relate, but really understanding and individuating between self and other, right? Because if you get triggered, if some of your internal trauma gets triggered and you start blaming somebody else for triggering that, you are unable to discern between yourself and another person emotionally, right? Does that make sense? So that's where a lot of abuse comes from. It's like, it really is a limited emotional pattern that's rooted in trauma. So why does this get passed down in families? Well, one, it's learned behavior. Two, it can be, and it also can be beliefs about, you know, men and women or relationships or, you know, sexuality. I mean, there's so much, right? But it's trying to control another person. It's very codependent, thinking that the other person is, if their behavior changes, then you'll be okay, right? Which is at the root of codependency. So the root of abuse, you know, I'm going to look this up really quick because I forgot to do it. Did I write it up? I did. I didn't even look it up with Louise Hay, but what I wrote down from my own experience, understanding the root of abuse, or some people talk about narcissism. You know, in my experience with narcissistic abuse is that narcissism is, again, just acting out of the trauma, right? It's a reaction from a place of pain. Abuse, people are acting out of pain. You know, it's like hurt people, right? So the gift in that is clearing our own inner trauma, which attracted the situation, number one. Number two, compassion, self-responsibility, and boundaries. So having really good boundaries around what kind of behavior you will and will not tolerate, taking self-responsibility for your own well-being, really important. And then really having compassion that whoever is acting out is acting from a place of desperation and from a place of fear and from a place of pain. And once we shift into compassion, the dynamic actually has the potential to shift, right? And also honoring our own boundaries around what we can, what we will and will not tolerate. So that's really, those are some of the spiritual, soulful gifts of abuse. For me, it has been incredibly empowering in my own journey to have compassion for myself and the other, and also to find my voice and to set boundaries which is around, you know, raising the standards of the kind of behavior that I will take, that I will, and this is just like with everybody, right? Including myself. And I think this is something that we have to really get. Usually patterns of abuse are gifts to mirror back to us where we are abusing ourselves in our relationship with ourselves. So what am I talking about? What does that look like? It's like the inner critic, right? Like, you know, it's like the voice of perfection, which is ultimately the voice of the oppressor. It's how we treat ourselves when we do something wrong, or we perceive as wrong, or we make mistakes, or we fuck up, or, you know, because our relationships mirror our relationship to ourselves. And again, if you're looking at this in an ancestral line, patterns of abuse, we have generations and generations of war and trauma and that has gone on for centuries, that has been unhealed, that is very violent, right? So those patterns, hey Leighton, hey Juliet, those patterns, and please feel free to write some comments. Let me know if this is, hey Daniela, if this is resonating for you, and what your experiences of this have been. Give me some likes, some hearts, whatever inspires you. But, you know, centuries and centuries of war and violence, right? And blame and shame and the whole like victim thing. We're blaming other people and holding them responsible for our happiness or what we think is right and good. And I think it's really important to realize that all of that karma generationally gets passed down. Those patterns of abuse gets passed down. And hi, Teresa, until it is healed, right? Until it is evolved into higher ways of relating with ourselves, relating with the planet, and relating with each other, relating in our families, you know. And it really hasn't been until now that we have these tools, right? These quantum tools that allow us to break these cycles, bring it into consciousness, step into compassion, and do the inner work. So much of it is just a choice. You know, it's a choice to free ourselves from it. Yeah, and I think, you know, for me in breaking the cycle on my own family line and in my own relationships, you know, this has been a big personal experience on my own journey. I had to do a lot of clearing of my own belief systems and ways of relating with myself and my own self-worth and my own value and how I related to myself and what I was saying yes to and what I would, and saying no to what I would no longer tolerate. Yeah. Being really, really firm. Being willing, Melanie Tonia Evans, who I'm a big fan of, because people message me all the time, if you're struggling in an abusive relationship, definitely check out her work as a first step. Melanie Tonia Evans. You can find her on YouTube. I would definitely start with her her videos. She, too, has developed a quantum tool that works on all the dimensions for clearing inner trauma. And when you realize that an abusive relationship is really a mirror to your own unhealed pain, and you go in and it's really not about the other person. They're your liberator, right? They're your messenger. And then you get to, so you can't make it about them anymore. Really important. And that goes if it's your ancestors or someone in your family of origin or, your husband or your wife or your ex or whatever the story is. Your friend, your boss, I hear that a lot. It doesn't matter. It's really about shifting the polarity within you. And once you do that, once you integrate it, it no longer is an issue. And that person will either change and evolve to meet you and support you and be more of a match with your own ascension, or they will evolve out of your life. And there's no judgment. There's absolutely, I can tell you from doing this deep work over the last couple of years, there's no judgment in that. It's so clean, and the power of really healing those abusive relationships, whether it's in your family or within your romantic life or whatever it is, work life, right? Hey, Bruce, we're talking quantum shifts, and that's why you have to use a quantum tool to do this work. Like creative alchemy or creative karmic alchemy, which I have developed using painting because it clears it on all the dimensions. The physical body, the emotional body, the etheric body, the energetic body, the spiritual body, the emotional body, the physical body, right? That's why, we are evolving out of this old paradigm of thinking that we can only clear trauma in these patterns and we can just think ourselves out of it. No, or talk our way out of it on the cognitive level. It's much deeper than that, and we have to work on all the dimensions. So that's what's at the root of abuse. It really is once your own trauma is no longer being triggered in those dynamics, you can step into a place of compassion. You can, and then you can also set healthy boundaries around that kind of behavior. Yeah. And you can learn to alchemize it. You can learn to shift it, and it is life-changing. I will tell you, and I will be sharing more about my own story about this going forward. So stay tuned about the powerful shifts that I've created in my own life doing and living this work. It's really incredible. So what you need to know to set yourself free, if you are in an abusive relationship, definitely check out Quantum Freedom Healing by Melanie Tonia Evans. I love her work. Of course, I have tools that'll help that too, but she's specific to narcissistic abuse, whether you're a man or a woman and you're dealing with any kind of abusive situation. I think that's a great first step because that is her focus. And that's not necessarily my particular focus, but if you are in a place, if you're out of that relationship and you want to break the cycle because you're like, I'm sick of attracting these relationships, then, guess what? The common denominator is you. Hi, Michael. And you have the power to shift it yourself. You don't need to go to, energy healer who's gonna like break the cords for you and da 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 da. It's like, no, what's so powerful about creative karmic alchemy is you do the work. You're working with your own creator source, your own creative power, your own healing abilities, and you shift you, right? I just guide and provide information and tools and create the sacred space, and you shift you in this work. It's so self-empowering. No more disempowering models of healing and personal growth. It's like, you know, if we continue to think that we have to rely on somebody else to do it, you'll have these tools forever. It's very empowering. So if you want to join me tomorrow, we are going to be doing a clearing, a massive, massive family karmic alchemy process where you can release all of these patterns, whether it's abuse, addiction, cancer, heart disease, betrayal, infidelity, secrets and lies, whatever the common, I just picked for the last 7 days the common ones that I see on most people carry in their field from past family, generational wounding. And again, until that gets integrated, until that pattern, that wound, that trauma gets cleared and integrated and released, that energetic pattern will stay consistent in your life and be a part of your legacy. So if you want to change it, if you want to break free so that you can have more of your creative life force to harness and focus and live the life that you feel called to live and live your full creative potential, then join me tomorrow at 1 p.m. You can click on the link above, set up a consultation with me today, or you can private message me. You can write in the comments like, I want to join, and I'll send you the information. We'll make sure this is a good fit for you. All right, any questions? Anyone? Any questions about abuse and the karmic pattern of abuse? It is an energetic pattern in our DNA, and again, it is collective. It is not unique to your family. It's not unique to mine. We all carry it until we choose to break it and rewire these codes, these genetic codes, for a higher order, right? A higher way of relating to ourselves, valuing ourselves, and a higher way of shifting and integrating painful experiences, you know, instead of holding on to the stories that they create. Yeah, you with me? Does that make sense? Let me know if this is resonating for you. Yeah. So if you'd like to join me, private message me or click on the link above. I wish you all a happy Halloween. I'm not going to put my unicorn back on, but if you were with me in the beginning, I guess I will put it on because it's Halloween. So thank you for coming. And join me tomorrow. Happy Halloween. Lots of love.